With the arrival of frost on the Yukon terrain and the end of the mining season in sight, many would begin to gradually reduce their operations. However, without being the king of the Klondike Beets, Tummy Beets is hell-bent on extracting every last drop of gold from the ground as long as it's still usable and prices are high. He has just 180 ounces remaining to satisfy his 5,000-ounce seasonal gold demand. Even though Tony has been vocal about his happiness with the season's progress thus far, he has made it plain that surpassing their goal would be the icing on the cake. Tummy isn't backing down. On the contrary, he's stepping it up. Achieving success has always been a straightforward process. Running 2 plants already is his dependable tiara at paradise, and the more you put in, the more money you stand to make. With time running out, Tony still saw potential at Hill and Weisel at Indian River, so he set his eyes on firing up a 3rd wash plant to take advantage of every last opportunity. This vision refocused attention on the Hester Cut, an encouraging piece of land. Tony had been eyeing the Hester Cut for more than 40 years. It was also his daughter Monica's project. When Monica initially broke ground, everyone was hopeful, but things didn't go according to plan. Suddenly became a suhole, as Tony would later characterize it, due to the area's saturation with groundwater and the unstable conditions that plagued it. Heavy equipment sunk into it. Monica and the crew quickly gave up on their plan to construct a 3rd operation in the Hester Cut. Despite Tony's best efforts, the plant's drainage failed because the pumps couldn't handle the increasing water levels and the ground was still too soft to support the machinery. This setback didn't dissuade him though. Instead than piling up waste material from previous miners, Monica that they run old-timer tailings, which still contained valuable gold. Although it wasn't completely uncharted territory, the site had already produced 330 ounces of gold from the same tailings in only 5 weeks. Now, with gold prices almost twice what they were then, the timing seemed ideal. Tony agreed that it was a prudent move, one that wasn't risky and could yield very rewarding results. But he had to make a sacrifice. Tony called Monica to the lowering yard and unveiled the new, state-of-the-art wash plant, the centerpiece of his design. It wasn't simply another piece. They required additional capacity for the wash plant quickly. This was Tony's gift for his daughter. Apparatus, a massive beast costing $500,000, which has the potential to significantly alter their velocity. The sight of the sleek new machine shocked Monaco, which had just been delivered. They jumped at the chance, sure that it would be a game changer. The plant, as he described it, was both aesthetically pleasing and highly efficient, able to handle big boulders and large amounts of paid dirt with ease. It had a huge hopper that fed material through water jets, which separated the gold from the rock. Hydraulic steel figures diverted the waste, while heavier gold particles were funneled into sill boxes. The original plan was to use the old Moose Creek trolley again, but when Tony saw the new Super Saw, it was an easy decision. Just drop it, hook it up, and start slowing. However, as the clock ticked down, the team felt an overwhelming sense of urgency to get the plant operational, which meant physically lifting heavy objects. After Monica and Glenn worked together with an 18-ton excavator to elevate the 17-ton structure, Cousin Mike set up the skids to hold its foundation. Once everything was in place, Mike Beets hopped into a dozer to lift the big wash plant onto its final pad. Tensions were high throughout the process. Successfully navigated the situation, but in the end, Tony's radio voice cracked. With precise and quick instructions, Monica guided Monica through each adjustment, raising, pulling, and stabilizing, as the plant was carefully lowered into place next to the old-timer tails. After the last adjustment, Monica nodded in approval. The team was still not finished. Monica then brought in the 700 loader to provide the final push, locking the wash plant into place with a smooth finish. Everything was prepared. Tony paused to take in the situation, obviously content with the additional addition he thought Monica needed to fully utilize. Tony Beets isn't taking advantage of the opportunity just yet. They still have a few tasks to complete before the super slough can go live, such as connecting the water system and fusing a few pipes. However, they have the box and momentum working in their favor. With Monica's plan to mine the tailings well underway and his new wash facility prepared, the Beets family is rushing towards the finish line. Following a week of nonstop digging, carrying, and suing, the family finally gathered together at the finish of what began as a gamble on abandoned material but turned out to be their largest reward yet, thanks to the fresh vigor that has made them Klondike legends. Despite the lighthearted banter, an underlying sense of tension pervaded the room as they prepared to clean up after Tony's operation, which has a long-standing yearly target of 5,000 ounces of Klondike, to see if it had achieved it. Dear Monica, who is energetic and competitive, was quick to report that they had another successful week on the job. Tony, her father, acknowledged her report with a smirk and made a playful comment about her banker's hours, suggesting that she might be taking it easy. In response, Monica asked if he was envious of her success. Despite the playful nature of the interaction, it soon turned serious. At the crucial moment, Tony stood over the gold pan, his hands calm and his eyes fixed on the task at hand. Cleaning up the area around the Indian River return cut extension, which had, once the pan was loose and the scales were set, Tony started the process of pouring the gold into the jar. A rich stream of glittering flakes began to collect swiftly, and someone noticed that the jar looked lovely and full. Everyone watched. The crew cheered as the numbers steadily increased, jumping from 10 to 20, then 30. Eventually, they reached 205.80, and Tony nodded in satisfaction, remarking that it was a solid haul and a good return from the fruitful little cut. More importantly, that single cleanup pushed them over the threshold they had been chasing all season, officially crossing the 5,000-ounce mark with that jar. At the current gold price, the cleanup alone was worth over $543,000. So now that the season's goal had been achieved, every ounce from this point forward would be pure profit. Someone joked that the rest of the season's gold would just be bonus income, but Tummy grinned from ear to ear, clearly pleased with the achievement. Tony quipped that there might not be much of an inheritance left to pass on given his spending habits. His characteristic wit highlighted his sincere delight in the team's achievement, but the weigh-in wasn't finished yet. Next up was gold from. With the family gathered around, the trommel ran at Paradise Hill Mike's domain. The tally started again, and the ounces quickly rose, passing 60 and soaring beyond 100. Cheers grew as the counter reached 160 and 200, and finally landed at an impressive 264.760, bringing their running total for. With gold prices skyrocketing, the overall haul was now worth nearly $14 million, with the season's output reaching 5,290 ounces, creeping closer to their all-time peak. Tony acknowledged Mike's work with an unusual burst of paternal pride, remarking that it was a heavy load for his little Beets. After much deliberation, the crew decided that, should of the last few weeks, they could potentially set a new record for total O's mined in a single season. This turnaround was especially impressive given that the Hester Cut disaster had almost killed their plans to run 3 wash plants. However, Monica's astute planning and Tony's daring investment in a $500,000 wash plant breathed new life into their operation at the exact moment they needed it. As the gold weighing concluded, the family exchanged amicable farewells. Monica motivated the crew to return with even more gold. Tony, who never misses an opportunity for a dramatic exit, grinned and told the team, "That's all, folks." However, his message was clear. They still had a little time left to work more ground, dig more gold, and possibly break a record. Momentum was clearly on their side, and they had a powerful new wash plant in full swing. It's almost time for the Beets gang to have their most successful season yet.